Okay, Ummul's calling, but I don't think I can take this at this point. So just for everyone, Patients Engage is a platform that informs, engages, and empowers patients and caregivers. And just a quick guideline to the people who are watching is that the session will be recorded and will be put up on YouTube later on. If you're logged on to Zoom, you can post your questions on the chat. If you're on Facebook, you can add your comments or questions on the live feed. And if you wanted privacy and you're on Zoom, you can rename yourself. As always, you can follow us on patientsengage.com as well as our Facebook, Twitter, and we now have an Instagram handle as well. So Patients Engage is essentially a platform which allows people to manage their conditions better, whether they're chronic conditions or disabilities. The key point that we try to make to people is that you're not alone, and lived experiences of people matter, and that you need to take charge of your own condition and make informed decisions. And that's why we have on our webinars people who live through these experiences and these conditions so that they can, uh, you know, uh, live better lives. I mean, because I think we're finding more and more as we go through multiple uh, stories and experiences that there is a lot of information that people gain and knowledge that people gain when they share experiences. As I said, here are our social handles. And if you want to write to us, you can at editor@patientsengage.com. So this panel discussion is about, and just a note to people, most of our panelists are from Chennai, where it's raining a lot. So the network is a bit unstable as well. So hopefully we will manage to do this through all the issues. But we are talking today to 4 panelists we have today, and we're talking about how you need to work through a few issues to develop personalities and shape personalities. Earlier in the series on disabilities, we've covered inclusive play for children with developmental disabilities. We've talked of the emotional well-being of mothers of special need kids, and we've talked of how safety and is equally important, for a child in a therapy room. Today we are talking about, as I said, shaping and evolving personalities. We will talk about how disability affects self-esteem and confidence, and sometimes it becomes self-limiting. Both themselves by the person themselves and the barriers created by loved ones. And we have great examples of how people journeyed through acceptance to self-advocacy, and even the role of technology, the role of support and social circles. So our panelists today, introducing to you one by one, and I've got a spelling mistake there. JD is really focused on saving the environment. He's just raised his hand. He's also a sales manager, and he's paralyzed from a spinal cord injury. Ummul, who's having technical issues joining in, and hopefully she will still join in, is head of disability legislation unit at Vidya Sagar, and she has cerebral palsy. And we have Raghu, who's an assistant prof at a government college and is the honorary secretary of Karna Vidya Foundation. He has visual impairment due to retinitis pigmentosa. And Smitha is kind of a co-moderator for us as well, and a cross-disability rights activist, accessibility consultant at Election Commission of India, and she's had multiple sclerosis for the last few years. So she's actually sitting on a bed and doing this, as she often does her meetings. I've got this, and I'll hand over to Smitha to introduce Vidya Sagar, because I think she's better placed than I am. And she'll also talk a little bit about what we are trying to do with this series that we are planning to run. Over to you, Smitha.
Thank you, Aparna. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. So VidyaSagar is a non-profit organization founded in 1985 and is working with children and adults with disabilities, basically multiple disabilities, and looking at their rights-based services. And apart from rights-based services, VidyaSagar is also empowering a lot of young adults with disabilities and their families. And of course, I am one of them. And so VidyaSagar have various services, and VidyaSagar's aim is to uh, look into independent living of persons with disabilities in the community, whatever be the severity of their disability. And so VidyaSagar is looking at various aspects towards achieving independent living of persons with disabilities. To start with, supported transport or accessible transport system, or independent travel training, forming a caregiver cell, or training a team of people who would actually go to different houses and make people's houses accessible according to their disabilities and their requirements, and how to make ourselves fit, how to keep ourselves fit with maintenance therapy, and what specific therapy should be applied to each person according to their condition. And there are different things like self-help groups, or self-leadership for persons with disabilities, where people with disabilities normal life routine can go on even when the primary caretakers who are parents are no more. So various things are looked into, and also group home managers who would actually facilitate people living independently, and also building up group homes, collaborating with the government and the private. So various aspects are being looked into, and VidyaSagar also wishes to generate a public opinion about independent living, and also create a public dialogue with the through this community page. So VidyaSagar has come up with this collaboration of the community page called Diversity and Inclusion, where supported
Sorry, Raghu. Smitha, 1 second. Raghu, can you not have that conversation, please? Thank you.
so the what we want to focus is how life can be celebrated by persons with disabilities, and we would like to bring in that aspect through this community page, and generate more public opinion on that. So that is why this community page has been collaborated with Patients Engaged. Then towards successful uh, successful independent living of persons with disabilities in the community. Over to you, Aparna.
Okay, great. Thank you, Smitha. And I'll just get started with the questions. So I think, JD, if you can start with yourself. And you had a spinal cord injury, so if you can just go through the thought process you went through after your injury and how it affected you, especially I think because you said that you were and are a fairly outgoing person, and you were a salesperson, right? So that required a lot of getting out and traveling as well.
Yeah, I still am a very outdoor person. And, spinal cord injury happens instantly. One day you're doing everything, and the next day it all changes.
Right.
So, because it happens so quickly, it just takes a long time to sink in. You're always thinking, wow, it's just a matter of time before I'm back to doing what I want to do.
Mm.
So, you know, once you realize that, wow, you can't do what you used to do before, um, yeah, it's you have a couple of choices. You can either choose to feel really bad that you can't do the things that you used to do before,
Mm.
or you can figure out how to you can do things now.
Right.
And if you choose to figure out how to do things now, you can just pick up where you left off with your able-bodied life.
Right. Right. Okay. And I think we have Ummul also. So hi, Ummul. I think if you probably have a message to start your video. So if you can start accept that, then you will be visible to the viewers. Okay, so Raghu, in your case, while we wait for Ummul, in your case, the deterioration of sight was slow, right? And it wasn't as in the case of JD, a sudden event. And you had a fairly sheltered life and an environment in the initial part. So when were you made to realize that it was a disability, and how did that affect your confidence?
Great. So I hope I'm audible there. With that, I would like to
Very clear.
start with.
Yeah, very clear.
So it all started in year around 1988 or 89 when I was around 10 years old. And till then, I was not aware of all my eye illness in terms of the retinitis pigmentosa. And I was wearing a specs and a thick glasses. In those days, it was like a stereotyped or a stigma attached to that. So I was asked to remove that, and I underwent an operation in the north, um, and yes, of course. After which I was told that I will be acquiring a good eyesight and I would be able to see the world without specs. So seeing the world without specs is the concern to my father and
Mm,
mother because
right.
they don't want our parents to. I mean, they don't want me to see with the specs,
Mm,
right? So all this said and done, I lost my eyesight purely after that. I was not able to move around, and even till my around 3 years after, even I was not feeling that sort of a problem like having a eye problem. But
right.
the real problem occurs to the question that you asked me. It happened only when I joined in a special school for the blind in 1992,
Mm,
wherein I was asked to stay in a hostel along with other visually impaired, and as well that made me really feel a lot. Like first one, moving away from the parents. Secondly, mobility is a barrier. Thirdly, I was acquainted. I have to acquaint myself with a new group of visually impaired, whom I don't know, who were walking and talking in a
mm,
different pattern of life altogether. That really gave a different picture to me. I mean, it's like a real blind man walking in a dark night. I mean, it doesn't make a difference. Or a sighted person going into a dark night, right,
right.
without any sight, something like that. So I was really blinded then, right, and then yeah, it took time for me to gain the confidence, right. Yeah, that is where the problem lies. Yeah.
Right. Right. And we have got Ummul who's managed to join us. Ummul, as I said, has cerebral palsy, and she's in the disability legislation unit at Vidya Sagar. So, Ummul, how did you challenge stereotypes and family expectations? And how did you get to defining your ambition to be a lawyer?
Yeah. Well, I don't. I'm Ummul here, as you said, and according to me, I don't believe in stereotype. A stereotype that person with disability, a wheelchair user, can only do the reception work and receptionist work, and they can only stitch embroidery, do the embroidery and do the stitching, and they can only put mehendi. It's based on their choice. It's based on their choice, but should not have a stereotype on that.
Right.
We can do it, and some can maybe some can cook, some can they don't like to cook. So it depends on their choice. And I have broken the stereotype. I made my own effort to. I keep on trying. Without trying, I believe in trying.
Right.
Yes, I accept failure. Yes, I accept failure, but doesn't mean because of the failure I should not try. So I try hard to do things, and now I'm a lawyer now. I'm advocate. So I have been asked to do so many things.
Right.
To use the embroidery, all these things. Now I'm a lawyer, and that's how I broke the
stereotypes. Right. So when you first, I mean, you didn't obviously one fine day say you want to be a lawyer. You first had to go through your education. So talk us through a little bit about, how you went through the issues of doing, because you didn't go to a regular school, right? So you did NIOS and had to define what you want to do at each stage.
So I'm not seen as a person, and I'm seen as a person with disabilities. Like many people say it's your fate, which you have to do. You have to live in this. You have to accept what you are. Yes, what I am accepting, but on that, what we can do it. Like as a person with disability, and I don't believe in sitting and crying.
Right.
So I believe in trying myself. So I trying myself to do things. And can you repeat that question?
No. So how did you define, the stages you went through from not being in a regular school to?
Yeah, because I was undergone all my treatment. When do I walk? When I walk, that I'll be a person.
Right.
So when I walk, only I'll be the person. So by seeing the outside appearance, not what is Ummul, what is identity, what she likes, what she doesn't like.
Right.
So that is what I had not studied. I had done 10th standard straight away in NIOS open schooling. Then I have gone to each step by step, like thing and degree, like 10th standard NIOS and +1, +2, then degree and college and law. But
right.
Also many people say you can't do law because of it's very difficult. You are a woman, and women with wheelchair user, and it's very difficult doing the law.
Right. Right.
That's what broken that also.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Smitha is back just in time. So did you have a moment of acceptance? JD, this is for you, and then later on, Smitha, you can also add. Did you have a moment of acceptance, and about your possible limitations, and how did that affect your personality?
Smitha, you want to go ahead?
I think go ahead, JD.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's very important to accept as soon as possible what your boundaries are.
Hmm.
Because if you don't do that, you're going to get hurt, mainly physically, I think. Because, as a wheelchair user, you have to be careful so that you don't fall out of the wheelchair. And the things you do, the places you go to, uh, you have to be very careful. So once you follow those boundaries, you can do anything.
Right.
But it's very important to accept very soon that you have limitations, but those are more for your safety.
Hmm.
Doesn't stop you from doing anything.
Right. Right. Smitha, would you want to add to that?
Yeah. So even from my personal experience, acceptance is very important in basically in evolving one's own personality. And I had the experience of a person without disability also. So I know that identity crisis is there for everyone, for persons without disabilities as well as persons with disabilities. But the only thing is that people without disabilities have more options, more knowledge, and more access to different kinds of services where they get information and they can choose, which we persons with disabilities don't have. So I had identity crisis when I was not a person with disability, when I was in college also, and I was
Right.
literally, what am I going to do in my life and all that. But at that time I got MS, multiple sclerosis, and I was in bed, and I was almost hospitalized for about 3 years. Like I was constantly on and off out of hospital, and so I got into a lot of depression, and my mind was completely blank. I was just into depression, and my professors encouraged me, motivated me to come out of it, to write my exams at least, because I had already discontinued my exam, my education.
Hmm.
And they arranged scribe for me, and my mom used to sit and read my lessons. I would lay down, and I would study by hearing what she was reading. And then I, even in the examination hall, I just lay down on the bench, and my scribe would sit and write for me whatever I dictated. So that is
Hmm.
how I did my examinations. And after that, my professors didn't allow me to outside four walls. Again, the motivation from outside is also very important, from the family or from the closest one. So my professors motivated me to go to Vidyasagar, and where I met Poonam Natarajan, founder of Vidyasagar. She's
Hmm.
actually a great mentor on disability perspectives. And so from her, I learned all the disability perspectives, and I learned that disability is not really the issue, but the issue are the barriers in the society, and we have the right for accessibility. We can ask for our right and for reasonable accommodations. And so all these things geared up me, geared me up. And Poonam Maka also sent me to many training programs where I had a lot of exposure. Exposure is another important aspect for developing one's personality. So all these things, gave me the confidence, boosted my self-esteem. And so, yeah, being a person with multiple sclerosis, I know that at any relax, I will go back to completely nothing, and I will have to start from scratch once again, and I may not, wherever I am right now. And but still, it is okay. I got that acceptance, and the acceptance is very important. And acceptance also requires support. Like now, I have the support of my awesome family members, my parents, and Vidyasagar or Multiple Sclerosis Society, or my lovely friends, professors, well-wishers, other family members. So I know that I can come back, at any time when I have a setback in health. So,
Right.
so basically, acceptance is a real important thing. And for acceptance, also, we need some external support. This
Right.
is
Okay. So continuing on your point that you made on the barriers to development, what are the common barriers, that you've observed to personality development?
yeah. So basically, we have parents who are overprotective, and this overprotection is a barrier for personality development. And many families also neglect people with disabilities.
Mm.
So both are not good. Overprotection in the sense like, oh, I will decide everything for my child. I will do everything. She can't do anything, and so she will hurt herself if she does. This kind of attitude. Just letting go and make them learn. Let a child learn. And if the child falls down, it's okay. Only if we fall down, we will learn to get up. So otherwise, when is she going to learn to get up? So these things, and also the social stigma. There should be acceptance of disability as one's identity, and also acceptance of the family member's disability. And with regard to social stigma, they would say like, oh, how will this poor girl be able to do study mass communication in the master's degree? How will she be able to do all the field visits? So all these things are stigmatizing.
Right.
Society needs to provide the accessible provisions, and not and reasonable provisions, and not just stigmatize or infantilize. Infantilization is one more biggest barrier, where the adults with disabilities, even 40 years, 50 years, are treated as children. So these are among the barriers, and also not allowing to take risks, making all the decisions for people with disabilities by the family members. So these things, and not allowing them, or not facilitating their communication and socialization. So these are some of the major barriers for people with personality development.
Right. Right. Um, so, the protective nature of loved ones or parents or uh, other partners or even children becomes a big, is quite a common theme that we come across. Um, JD, how did you work to breaking that barrier? How did you convince your family members to allow you to continue to take risks? And I know you talk about sports being a big driver for you. So if you can just elaborate on that.
Yeah, I actually like what Smitha said, and yeah, um, I totally agree with what she said about parents being protective, and um, I mean, they're trying to save you,
Mm,
but you, if they protect too much, then it's very difficult for you to find your way.
right.
And they're not doing it to hurt you. In fact, the opposite. They're trying to save you, but they have to realize that actually, by not letting you try things for yourself, that they're actually going to make it difficult in the long run.
Mm,
So in my particular case, I was very lucky. I was motivated to become independent.
mm,
And though my parents, maybe they never really encouraged the independence, they never stopped it either.
right.
So I was very fortunate in that situation. But for people who aren't that lucky, I recommend breaking it down into smaller independent things.
Mm,
And once your parents see that you are able to do smaller things,
mm,
quite easily and confidently, they also feel confident and they kind of let loose little by little. That's
right.
a really good tip. If you can't get your parents to support you on a big thing,
Mm,
make it into a smaller thing, and build their confidence.
right.
If you're going out, go out first for maybe half an hour at a time, And every time you come back, it gives them confidence. Then when you go out for an hour, they're not so scared,
Right. Right. Raghu, can you tell us how technology changed the way you looked at your possibilities, and how you worked on this Rotary project, and how did that help you push your own limits?
Right. So, when I was, after all my graduation and chosen my career as a teacher in a school, and also joined in a college after around 2011. Things quite changed a lot. But the journey with technology started in 2007 or so, when computers were introduced to the visually impaired in Chennai and across Tamil Nadu with a voice software. That's the important thing. So computers were there in place, but the computers that we are using or the regular one, but along with that we use a voice software, a screen reading software that enable the visual impaired to navigate with the keyboard, and the screen reader will tell us what is on the screen and how to navigate and things like that. So it is a reading software with which I'm able to operate my computers and as well my mobile phone or any digital mode nowadays. So the idea is it started in 2008 when I started working with these computers on my own to learn the basics of operations, and slowly I was able to even teach to others. In 2009, as a budding thing in Madurai, I taught to around 15 or 20 visually impaired at the nascent level, like to deal with the MS Office and to help them with their communication and things like that. So when this technology was developing, and we were all very curious, and because it makes us, one, very independent. Two, it makes us to read, write, and do all our activities on our own in terms of education. And as well, we were able to communicate quicker, faster. So these are all things made us more curious, more enthusiastic to learn more this computers and the technology that comes with. So after 2011, when I am in a good position to use the computers on my own, I was invited by this Rotary project. It is called as Karna Vidya, meaning learning through hearing. I was given an opportunity to lead the project, and when we started leading, we gave a proposal to the Rotary and said we want to have a technology center at Gindi. So we started this technology center called Karna Vidya Technology Center. Now it has become a foundation on its own, and it is now run by the visually impaired themselves, wherein we are training people on IT skills and enabling placements in the IT sector. Generally, the very important aspect of this is the Chennai and Tamil people did not see a visually impaired working in IT environment. They have generally seen people in teaching and music professions.
Right.
But I should say this is the first and foremost foundation that enable visually impaired to work in IT sectors such as Amazon, Cognizant, TCS, and other environments, IT-based environments. And we are giving them job ability training and pre and post placement training. And as well, we are connecting the employer, making the employer understand the capabilities of the visual impaired, and as well the skill set are being matched with the job roles in the company. We do provide them workplace solutions and all things related to overall employment. So empowerment through employment is the real outcome of this technology that we are using. And this technology is a very simple, small, easy technology. It just involves your commitment and sincerity to train yourself on that. So that is the way now we have done around 80 to 85 placements, all most of them into IT background. And that is the real model that we focus or show to others if I have to follow.
Right. Great. Thanks, Raghu. We have one question that has come in from Lakshmi Prabha. Does a person with disability need a different personality to succeed? Do they need to be more determined than others? Who wants to take this? Ummul, do you want to attempt to answer this question? Smitha, you want to? You'll need to speak up, Smitha. We are getting feedback that you're not so easily audible. Yeah.
Audible now.
Yeah.
People with disabilities don't need a different personality,
Mm,
but there need to be opportunities, and there need to be accessible solutions to facilitate them.
right.
Facilitations are different. It is not the personalities as such, and every person is unique, and every personality is unique. That is the different matter. And if you look at a holistic personality, then no, we don't need a specific, literally different personality. But we are all human beings of same kind and unique nature. And so we need different facilitations, different reasonable accommodations, and we need a lot of exposure and information so that we can develop our personality.
Right. Okay.
Maybe adding on,
Right.
so especially as Smitha said, the information, the facilitation, all to be done, and it should start with the parents. And the personality as such, it is a unique one, as she said, wherein the parents should take the major vital role, for which they should equip themselves with this information, with this awareness on the environment, the opportunities, and the facilities across departments, and that will help them to leave the child explore on its own, and help the child to do things on his interest.
Right. Correct. And I think, Raghu, you gave a good example as well in terms of how technology increased the number of choices you had, or people with visual impairment have in terms of career options, for instance, right? I mean, earlier the assumption was that if you're blind, you were into music or at best teaching. And with technology now, increasingly there are people who are doing a lot of different activities and roles as well. So yeah, I think that's a good point. Ummul,
I can say,
sorry, you want to say something, Ummul?
yeah, I can say that technology, as you said, even motorized wheelchair,
Right.
motorized wheelchair makes me very independent. So that also it helps me, motorized wheelchair and a recorder.
Mm,
So recorder, those stuff helps me with the reasonable accommodation for us.
right.
It really actively do work independently in some way.
Great. So following on for you, Ummul, how did you get to the point uh, where you are comfortable asking for equal opportunities or asking for support, as well as refusing support when somebody is trying to do your work for you or give you support when you don't need it? So give us a few examples of how you work through that process.
So even during, I want to tell one example of that during my college time.
Mm,
During my college time, first I need a support of notes,
mm,
like for exams. I was not getting the notes.
right.
So then I was not getting the notes, and they refused to take the recorder
Mm,
college, and they said whoever performed well, they have a rights to talk. They can speak.
right.
They also ask whatever they want. Not then I was realizing human rights comes. I was I was just wanted to know that earlier before I become an advocate, and The human rights come when you succeed something, when you
Hmm.
success something, when you achieve something. Not like that. Everybody has, as everybody, everyone is unique. Everyone has some different abilities.
Right.
With the support of people, we can work together.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. Okay. Um, so I think to some extent, we had this question: how do you convince your loved ones to allow you to take risks? JD, you kind of also addressed that already. By talking of how you break down that risk into smaller risks. Is there anybody else who would like to add to that question, Smitha? Yeah, Smitha, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Uh, so risk is there for everyone and everywhere. If you have to step outside the house or even within the house, there is risk. There is risk of falling down, slipping on something, or slipping in the bathroom or whatever. And if you step out of the house, like you have the chance of getting hit by a vehicle. Even when you drive, when you wear a helmet, also there are chances of accident, and we know it all. But still, what we do, we don't sit at home. No, we take risks. We go
Right.
out. We follow the rules. Try to follow the traffic rules. We try to follow safety measures, and we try to safeguard ourselves. And but still, we keep going on. So
Right.
that's what has to be taught to, and to be practiced by persons with disabilities also. And basically, families have to let go people with disabilities to to face the world. Otherwise, without facing the world, people will not develop. Our personalities will be at stake. So, and parents have to take their children out to family get-togethers, or shopping, or wherever, any apartment function. If people don't want to include us, then call people to your house and have a party, and facilitate socialization of people with disabilities like that, children with disabilities like that. And don't think that, the society is going to stare at my child, and so we are not going to take her out. No, you have to take her out. And if somebody asks you what is his problem, then you should ask what is your problem.
Hmm.
And so, be empowered for yourself, and then give that empowerment to the child. And that is how, by taking small risks, as JD said, and then we will be able to face the world completely.
Maybe
So we have
one another thought on the same line.
Yeah, go
With
ahead.
yeah, with reference to this, parents, in fact, bringing up this visually impaired kids. I have seen many kids being locked at their rooms or in their houses. Of course, they're all small kids. My humble suggestion and request to all the parents is that they train these kids or bring up their kid. Enable the kids to listen to audios well, the sounds well. Sounds echoes the sense for the visual impact. That's the first step for mobility.
Hmm.
Make them understand, make them also tell, make them tell back, reply to what the sound means. And as well enable them on tactile methodology. When you say tactile, you touch and feel. When you walk, your surface will be different on your foot, where you can understand when you walk or with your foot. It could be with your slippers or it could be even with your boots. You can understand the difference of the surface. That has to be taught, in the sense it is to be practiced. Make the child to practice that. Third important thing, also enable the child to visualize, imagine. Or how do you do that? You need to start from the known to the unknown, or concrete to the abstract. Rather, for example, if you want to explain how a park is, take a small, you create a park, a simulation in your own house. Like put some small sand, like here and there, small stones. It is not like a big thing I'm telling. It's a very simple, without any cost thing I'm talking about. You can just do it on your own as a playway method. Like
Hmm.
enable the student, the kid to understand that this is a park, like this is how a park will look around. You need to walk like this, like or on the edges you may have some this stagnating ditches, right? Or you may have some manholes will be like this, because if a totally blind guy, a small kid, will not be able to understand. But this will able to make him understand, visualize, and take him for a walk. Like hold the kid hand for to the nearby house, to the nearby shop, and help him understand how to speak with the customer. See, I'm telling you very small, simple task, but it is. Don't mistake me. Otherwise, it is not to boredom or to be very elaborate. Rather, the parents should understand that when you do this constantly for at least 6 to 7 or 8 months, rather, the kid will able to acquire and understand to navigate on his own, and it will start questioning what is the environment. When you walk around, you should tell, like, this is like a blue color board is there, this is the signboard over there. So these are all things, inputs that you enable the visual impaired, one, to bring in confidence, to second, to make him visualize, imagine, three, to create the interest, instill the morale to walk on his own, right? That's the basic thing.
Right, right. Thank you, Raghu. I think those are very useful inputs. Um, and Smitha, again for you, what is the role of support circles, and how does this, how how do support circles help people develop decision making? Um, and yeah, I think those are the two questions.
Support is available generally in the society. It is available everywhere, and people generally use support systems. Am I audible?
Yeah, very faint.
Okay. So yeah, I will try to shout.
Yeah, no.
So, support, when it comes to persons with disability, people think that the parents are the only support providers. Whereas
Mm,
for the society, for people without disabilities, support is everywhere. See, for example, government is itself a support. Government is providing schooling or public transport or police. All those are support systems. And when you look at private support systems like tuitions or cook, or employing a cook, or a private transport, so, or engaging a financial advisor. All these things are private support systems. And support systems can be both paid or non unpaid, like voluntary, or can be complementary. Like, for example, paid support systems can be for taking care of activities in daily living, like brushing, toileting, dressing, and bathing, and all that. And supports like accompanying in travel, or accompanying for a leisure trip. So all these things can be voluntary support, and complementary support can be like I teach you lessons, I teach you something, or I contribute to your development financially or whatever way, and you provide me support in whatever way I require it. So,
mm,
this kind of complementary support, all these things can be taken. And, we have to eventually look for support. Like, support need not be a total support. That is what is the general notion of the society. Like, if it is persons with disabilities, they require a total support, and that is how the idea of guardianship got birth to. So even the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities is talking about specific support for specific requirements for specific time.
I think we've lost Smitha, but I think she's made her point. JD, would you like to add to that? Anything in terms of social circles and how socialization has helped you?
Yeah, Smitha was talking about, you know, all the all the support systems that are available. But the support system that really helped me was people with similar problems or similar injury.
Mm,
And spinal cord groups have it's so relevant. They have, they've already dealt with the problems, they've found solutions.
mm,
I think Raghu will also, um, I don't know, definitely agree that, you're the same community of, injury or whatever it is. It's just a great resource to get ideas how to make your life so much easier.
Right.
So support groups, I mean, you have to be involved in many support groups because there are so many ideas and solutions and things that they're doing. um, it really makes you feel, first of all, you feel very normal in that group, but more than that, it's just so many ideas.
Right. Right.
It's a most
Also say,
useful resource.
Sorry,
can I say?
somebody's just commented that what Raghu said on visualization and abstract thinking applies for people with autism as well. So just wanted to get that out. Sorry, Ummul, you were saying something?
Yeah, support. I would like to say about support.
Mm,
Support really. We also. I really. I go about the support because when I travel alone, see, I ask support. Some people hesitate to ask support. Like
right.
whenever I came from Bangalore to Chennai, I locate the place, like inquiry number and a dial. I want to do something and contribute something.
Mm,
And I got the support of people, Vidya Sagar. And what I want, like my friends supported me in my law degree,
mm,
and they really supported me fully. And also my education, how they understand me, how they understand and help me to pursue my education.
right.
And also when I travel, I go alone, but with the help of some community support. Like I ask little help, they help me.
Mm,
So make friends, community, they help a lot.
right. Right. So, yeah, Smitha, go ahead. But I also have a question on support system that's come in, and this may be stretching it a little bit, but somebody's asked that support systems and support groups, kind of are working in urban areas, but how do people in rural, semi-rural areas? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, sure. In rural areas, there are people who are more vulnerable, like from the other communities, but may not be persons with disabilities. So
Mm,
they can be used as our support system. In many villages, there are the widows who are who have been abandoned by the family. They provide support to persons with disabilities. They become part of this person's family, and
mm,
all they need is a protected environment and love and care, and which persons with disabilities will be able to give back. So like this, we can complement each other. And if you look into these aspects, even in rural areas, there are this Mahatma Gandhi Narega rural employment opportunity scheme. So where we can assign some people as support persons for people with disabilities by panchayat. So there are multiple opportunities in rural areas also. And when it comes to decision making, like we are taking support for many other tasks, activities, we can take support for decision making also. Like for example, generally persons without disabilities also take advice from a financial advisor or a banker or a legal advisor. Similarly, a person with disability who finds it little difficult in choosing, in making his choice, can be supported to make his decisions by explaining in simple language how different options and the outcome of the different options, that which will enable him to choose. So like this, there are multiple areas of support, multiple degrees of support which can be provided according to the person's requirement.
right. Okay. Raghu, you wanted to add something?
Yeah,
Just
one
letting
or
people
two.
know, sorry, people on who are listening to us, if you have any other questions, just let us know or type it in while we continue this.
Just two more sentences to that. One is with reference to the rural area, we need to group the volunteers team over there if there is any. As
Mm.
well, we need to work with the panchayat body, and
Right.
we need to equip them on that, how to support each disability. For example, a wheelchair user, if he or she is going on a wheelchair comfortably, there's no need of a stranger to come back and push them, or suddenly in the name of support, they need not to come and help them out unnecessarily. So, or even a person with white cane, just
Mm-hmm.
like that, holding his cane and leading him, saying that I'm helping you out,
Right.
is not. So these are all things. Every disability should be helped when and wherever if it is required and told to them, and not beyond that.
So just so that as a lay person, right? If I see somebody with a wheelchair or somebody with a cane trying to cross the road, should I be offering help or should I let them
You
do
should
their
ask,
work and and only if they look around or ask for help, we should respond.
correct. You should only ask. I mean, offer your help. Just go ask them if you do you require. That's the first question
Right.
that we need to ask.
Right.
First of all, you should introduce yourself. Right? That's very important for a visual impaired.
Mm.
For a person with other disability, they can at least see.
Right.
So the visual impaired should know whom they talk.
Right. Right. Smitha, you want to add?
And for evolving support systems, the primary caregivers, that is the parents, have to distance themselves a bit so that the support system gets evolved. Otherwise only parents will be there protecting and the support system will not evolve. So they have to keep a little bit of distance and but yet observe whether the support system is working, and they have to intervene only when there is a danger or when situation gets into a life threat. So otherwise, there are a little bit of fights or whatever which they have to allow, and so that disability themselves would evolve with the support system. So this is also one thing for parents to keep in mind.
Right. But parents often, since we've spoken to so many parents, right, they often struggle with, especially when the kids are very young. And somebody talked about it that, people stare at the kids or they make pass negative remarks. And they get into this habit of, therefore, not taking those kids out or taking them to sheltered environments only. Uh, because time and again they keep hearing the negative talk, and even as parents they are individuals as well, right? So that hurts them. Any suggestions, any
Yeah,
recommendations for those parents?
yeah, they should actually continue to take the person out, take the child out, so that the child is also gets used to staring, and then people stop staring.
Mm,
We have to educate people, and wherever possible, let us try to communicate with the public, and let the child herself start communicating. We have to facilitate the children's communication. Like if we are going to a hotel, instead of the parents communicating to the waiter, let the child communicate to the waiter, and we have to facilitate if the waiter doesn't understand, or
right.
with the vegetable vendors wherever the parents go for shopping. So like that, we have to facilitate communication and socialization. A person may stare twice or thrice, or even 5 times or 10 times. 11th time he's not going to stare. He will be used to us, and he would be willing to know about us and work with us or help us. So he himself can become our support circle. So that way we have to facilitate and we have to sensitize the public wherever we
Right.
go.
Right. Umul, you also talked of that everybody who's disabled doesn't have the same personality, right? There is, or the same likes and dislikes. There is also this sweeping generalization and partly stereotype where they expect the same thing, right? So you gave this example that you like to cook, as if you have
Yeah,
an accessible kitchen, you like to cook. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
yeah, yeah. As a person with disabilities, And many of us, they want to cook like anybody, like able person also. Like that, visual user, some people they does not want, they don't want to cook. And some person with disability, they want to cook. But doesn't mean that all the person with disability, they cannot cook, they don't want to learn recipes. And why should
Right.
we give anyway? They're not able to cook. Why should we give the recipe? So, like that, I wanted to cook because if there is accessible a kitchen and anything is adaptation things available, and with the adaptation we can make it.
Right.
Even if we need some assistance, if we need some support, we can make it.
Right.
So
Right.
that's
There's a question that's come in terms of the kind of counseling support. Uh, was there support from counselor or any support group or family support? I think you'll have all talked of family support and support groups. Did anybody talk to a counselor and would like to talk about that at any stage? No? Okay.
another
Uh,
thing, madam. Only when it comes to cooking, with the person with disability may drop something in the kitchen. It doesn't mean that, oh, don't do this. Do not
right.
person with disability not to do this just because you're dropping it.
Right.
And again, so allow them. It's okay to drop. The
Hmm.
next time they won't drop.
Right. Right. Yeah. So I guess it's about allowing people to make, I don't know, mistakes or whatever it is till they learn, right? Or at least allow them that opportunity to go through that learning process. And I guess, again, JD
Yeah,
said the same thing as well, that, you will fall down, you might have to figure out how to manage that situation, and then you move on. Any final thoughts? I think we have no other questions at this point. Any final thoughts? I'll just go around very quickly. Just any final bit of advice or thoughts that you have, um, Raghu?
Yeah, so life is just to enjoy. And we all celebrate diversity. We all celebrate the if you go into a garden, it is a rose garden, only
Mm,
roses are there, but still we admire, we get inspired by a small bit of every petal and every small rose. So the idea is to celebrate diversity, celebrate this ecosystem. Of course it is all full of social barriers, of course it is full of impediments, and it is not up to their expectations. But the only idea is, only if you have this sort of an attitude and approach, I think you could really make a mark. Rather, you making a mark, you are enabling, you are facilitating, you are giving the space for your kid to make a mark on their own. And that is what I hope all the panelists here would be also echoing or voicing out.
right. Uh, Smitha?
Yeah. So being a person with disability is no less. Everybody requires access. And am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, you are. A bit faint as always, but you're
Okay.
audible.
Okay. Uh, so everybody requires access. See, for example, if there are a fleet of stairs for the first floor, and people without disabilities can climb, but people with disabilities cannot climb. Whereas if there are no stairs at all, then can people without disabilities jump to the first floor?
Mm,
They can't, right? So everybody needs access, and access. So with the access requirements differ from person to person. So it is different for people without disabilities, and it is different for people with disabilities. So that kind of attitude we need to take in, and that is the reality also. So yeah, as Raghu said, we need to celebrate diversity, which is also the theme of United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. just ask for support, just ask for accessible requirements, or just ask for your reasonable accommodations, and keep moving on.
Great. Thanks, Smitha. JD?
No, there's this saying in, I don't know, I've only heard it, among among my groups now. And it probably applies even to able-bodied people. And the saying is, don't focus on what you can't do, which is your disability. Just focus on what you can do, which is your ability.
Right.
And I think that works for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. We have, okay, sorry, one question that's come in from Anand. What are the support systems enforced through state to persons with disabilities who cannot afford? Smitha, you have anything on that?
Yeah. So there is this caregiver allowance, which has to be provided for caregivers, for appointing caregivers. So that is one support provision. And the other things are coming into the social security measures, like the healthcare system, or even support for sports and activities, and support for the disability maintenance allowance, financial support, and things like that. There should be support for executing the legal capacity of exercising the legal capacity of persons with disabilities by the state. So that is also been mentioned by the Act in Section 15. So there are these various kinds of supports, and accessibility is a major support which is being ensured by the Act. Accessibility of transport, or accessibility of public places, accessibility of technology, information. So all these things are support systems which the government should be providing for persons with disabilities, and it is our entitlements.
Okay. Ummul, final thoughts to the viewers? Anything you would like to add? Okay. All right. So thank you, everyone, and thank you to our viewers. It's been a great conversation that we've had. We've touched on a lot of issues or topics, and I'll just quickly summarize a few. The acceptance of the boundaries is important, but also to keep trying and not giving up. And I think to parents and other caregivers, it's important to also keep trying and also learn to let go. And I think now, increasingly with technology, with support groups, there are solutions out there. So, join support groups and look out for those solutions. And as JD said, break down the goals into bite-sized chunks so that you are taking risks in small amounts and you're not kind of jumping the big hurdle. And yeah, great session. I think great pieces of advice from Raghu, JD, Smitha, and Ummul. I think it's a personal pleasure as well to have had this conversation with all of you. So thank you, and this will continue on Facebook as well, and in a few days we'll put it up on YouTube as well. All right.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aparna.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks.